executives. And raids on media outlets in Turkey.
You can see it. You can't remember.
It's an invisible disability that's hitting a growing number of teenagers.
He'd forgotten what football team he supported. He'd forgotten what a television was called.
Tonight, Cultural and GP Extra Special, Well-Being, The Kids with No Memory, at 9:30 on Pearl.
喂，
阿仔啊，我頭好痛啊，仲鼻塞添啊！
你等等下，喂，老婆，
喉嚨好痛啊，仲周身骨痛。我發燒啊，你摸下我頭幾興？我沾到鼻水啦！我咳死啦！
幸福為你行多步，特強幸福傷風咳素，12大傷風感冒同咳症狀，一次過 KO。幸福為你行多步。
Introducing Turbo Down from Columbia Sportswear. With its Omni-Heat reflective lining, it's ultralight and super warm. Turbo Down, unleash the power of warmth. Columbia.
The time now is 7:46. The time check was brought to you by Seiko.
Welcome back to TVB News. Photos, files and other personal information stored on the phones of the vast majority of Android phone users are vulnerable to unwarranted access from mobile apps. The Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data has asked Google to fix the problem, but admits it may be difficult to force the internet giant to comply. Joao da Silva reports.
It is the world's most widely used mobile operating system, but recent tests reveal worrying shortcomings when it comes to keeping user data private. The city's privacy watchdog ran tests on the Android system and found out that it is possible to develop an app that's able to access data in the memory of devices without first requesting the permission of users. This includes photos, files, or any data produced through other apps. Although this flaw has been fixed in the operating system's latest versions, 2/3 of all Android users are still running older versions on their cell phones or other mobile devices. Late last month, the Privacy Commissioner formally asked Android developer Google to both fix the problem and warn end users. But when it comes to enforcement, the internet giant is beyond the reach of the Hong Kong watchdog.
Google is a marketplace operator. It is not a data user. So there is no way that we can enforce our local personal data privacy ordinance to take any remedial action. There will be jurisdictional problems, bearing in mind that the server is not in Hong Kong. So in terms of enforcement, there's nothing that Hong Kong can do.
In another study, the personal data watchdog found out that local app developers made no improvements from last year when it comes to their privacy policies. Only slightly more than half of the locally developed apps surveyed presented users with a privacy policy statement. It was also revealed that these applications often sought user data beyond what would be expected according to their functionality. Joao da Silva, TVB News.
The jury in the corruption trial involving former Chief Secretary for Administration Rafa Hui and top executives of Sun Hung Kai Properties has retired to deliberate the verdict. After 7 months, the 9 jurors retired to consider a verdict. Before sending them away, the judge asked the jurors to try to reach a unanimous verdict. Otherwise, a majority verdict of at least 7-2 will be accepted. Hui, along with Sun Hung Kai Properties joint chairman Thomas and Raymond Kwok and 2 other defendants, have pleaded not guilty to all the charges against them.
Turkish police have arrested dozens of journalists during raids on media outlets in what many are calling a crackdown on freedom of the press. The raid swept 13 cities across the country, targeting 31 journalists and police officers. Anti-terrorism police raided the offices of Samanyolu Television and Zaman Daily, the country's highest circulating newspaper, and arrested its editor-in-chief. The crackdown on anti-government media stems from President Tayyip Erdogan's battle with an ex-ally named Fethullah Gulen. Erdogan accuses Gulen of trying to overthrow him by influencing the media and the police. But Gulen, a cleric who's been living in self-imposed exile in the U.S. state of Pennsylvania, denies the allegations. So far, about 30 people have been detained. They're charged with forgery, fabricating evidence, and forming an alleged crime syndicate aimed at overthrowing Erdogan's Justice and Development Party, AKP. The Turkish Prime Minister vowed to hold the guilty accountable.
Hiçbir şeyden korkmuyoruz diyenler.
Ahmet Davutoglu accused the detainees of wiretapping private meetings of the Prime Minister and the President and conspiring against the National Intelligence Agency. Outside the Zaman News building, police were met with strong resistance. About 1,000 supporters called the raids a day of shame for Turkish democracy. The local Journalists and Writers Foundation said it's obvious the government is muzzling the opposition, and this Zaman journalist agreed. The writer insists they published the truth while covering the most serious stories on corruption. Other detainees include a former anti-terrorism police chief, a former deputy chief of police, and the chairman of the Samanyolu Media Group. Before surrendering to police, the TV station's chief said attacking freedom of the press is a 21st century disgrace for Turkey. The raids are expected to take several days as police have orders to detain about 400 people regarded as Gulen supporters. All right, Tony, over to you for sports.
That's right, we've got some NBA exciting stuff to talk about. The Lakers' Kobe Bryant became the NBA's third all-time career scorer. Bryant passed his idol, Michael Jordan, in the Lakers' win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. James Wong has more.